Hello, in this video, I'm gonna share, oh sorry, there's that turkey again, making noise. Okay, back to the video. Hello there, in this video, I'm gonna show you how to sew a corner intersection on your jean or any project that you may have where you are having trouble sewing a corner bump intersection. So I have here 3 different machines because different machines will give you a different experience, and I'm going to show you the 3 different ways on how to approach this. Now I do recommend this video to people who own a sewing machine that's not computerized, because it's just better to do this hack, I call this a hack, on a manual sewing machine. Here I have recreated the different hems to jeans. So this is the flat-failed hem, and you can Google it up. This is called a serge hem. Now both of these, I'm going to use these 2 examples. Now both of these, if you fold this 2 times like this, you're gonna get at some point 9 layers of fabric. Now it is a little bit easier to do it on this type of hem because it's not as wide. Your machine will not sew as wide of a corner bump compared to a flat-failed hem. And you can find a lot of these flat-failed hem finishes on heavy-duty jeans or old-fashioned jeans. That's how they used to sew this. This is a different machine. They use a different machine on this one, which is an overlocker. And this one is just a sewing machine. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine. And please finish this video because I want you to see the different scenarios of sewing this particular bump on different sewing machines. Now I'm going to start with this machine. This is a 1 amp Janome. This machine is powerful. But there's a trick on how to do this so you don't break a needle. Okay? So let me just start you off. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to fold this to fold like this. And I'm going to try to run this on this machine. I know that this machine will sew this kind of a bump. But what I'm going to show you is how to not break your needle and how to not force the machine also. So I'm gonna have my pedal here. I'm gonna put it like this so that you can kind of see what I'm doing. Okay, so let me just angle the camera. Sorry about that turkey again. Okay. So first I'm going to start with the 3 layers here. So the fold is 3 layers first. And then I'm going to go to a 9 layer inch on the corner bump. So let's do this. Slow at first. Now I want you to listen to the sound of the sewing machine as it sews and climbs up the 9 layers of fabric. There's a change in sound, so what I'm doing is I'm also mindful of the acceleration that I'm doing on my pedal. See, this is easier because this is a power machine. I mean, all I did was I slowed down. So do not accelerate if you are sewing on a corner intersection, especially if you're climbing up. So now I'm past the plateau and I'm coming down, and listen to the sound. It's gonna normalize because it's past the 9 layers of fabric. So now I'm going to use a weaker Janome. This is a 1 amp Janome, and this is a 0.6 of an amp Janome. And there is a difference when you sew a corner intersection to this weaker machine. It's just a weaker type of machine for, beginners. But let's say you're stuck with this type of machine. I'm going to show you how to sew a difficult corner bump. Okay, sorry, let me angle my lighting here. Give me a minute. For the meantime, listen to the natural turkey sounds, and that's not AI. Alright, so I have my pedal here too. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold this two-fold like this. So I'm gonna get my corner bump intersection again. Remember, this is a weaker machine, okay, compared to the first one. And so what's gonna happen is gonna sound different. So, alright. Now, I don't recommend you using this trick to a computerized sewing machine. How do you know when it's a computerized sewing machine? When you press something, either it's a button or a digital push, you'll see something that blinks, or a word or a digital number. That's how you can tell it's computerized. I recommend this for this type of mechanical sewing machine, unless you have a good brand like a PAF or a Husqvarna. Okay. So remember, I'm gonna hit 3 layers here, but when I get to this part, it's 9 layers of fabric. Okay? So I have my pedal here. Listen to the sound first. Now it's trying to climb the 9 layers of fabric. Because this is a weaker machine, it's gonna sound different. Listen to that, it's struggling to climb up. So what you do is you slow down on the acceleration, very slow. And listen to the sound. It's struggling. Don't force it. It's trying to do it. So now you get to the part where you're actually stuck because this is a weaker sewing machine, the motor is not strong enough to climb up and tackle the job. So what you do is you help the machine by using your hand to crank up the needle. So this is the part where I need you to understand that you need to not stress the needle. How do you not stress the needle? By not forcing it. Do not accelerate. Do not speed up. Give your needle time to pierce down the fabric. Right now I'm pushing it down, and when it pushes down, it's automatic that when it reaches the very bottom, it will pick up that bobbin thread. And so I'll do is I'm just cranking it up with my hand, and I can feel some resistance there. So what's happening right now is I'm walking the needle with my hand wheel. Okay, so let me position the camera here. I'm not using the pedal, but I am using my hand to crank up the needle. See? So now look, I'm not using the pedal anymore. I don't want to force it. Instead, I'm using a manual power to move the needle. You can't really see it, but this needle is actually moving forward. Okay? The stitch is moving forward and the fabric is going backwards. See? It's hard to see it, but I am making progress here. If you can believe it. I know you can't really see it. So what I'm doing is just this thick of a bump that I need to get over with. And that's no problem. I just use my hand to walk the needle. How easy is that? Do not accelerate. I've heard other people use a device called hump jump, or some other tricks that you have to use a really strong needle to sew a thick jean. What if you don't know the size of your needle? What if you don't have a device? So this is the trick to do it. You can still be kind to your machine by following this trick. Okay? Believe it or not, I'm actually coming down the seam here. So I'm gonna use again the foot pedal to accelerate. So see what I did there? Just for like half of an inch corner bump that the machine is struggling to sew, I use my hand wheel instead. So like I said, be nice to your needle and help it sew the fabric and do the natural rotation of the hand wheel. Alright, so we did this. Okay, in this video, I'm gonna use this machine, and pardon me because there's additional noises in the background. The neighbors banging something, the construction workers doing something with the property. Anyway, bear with me. So I'm gonna use this machine now. So what's different about this machine is very powerful. I was able to sew 21 layers of flat fabric on this particular machine. Very strong, 1 amp, vintage, but it has a different issue when climbing up a corner intersection. And the reason for that is the feed dog is not as good as the other 2 machines that I have used. And there's an issue to this when it comes to climbing up a corner bump intersection. Let me just show you. So this particular machine has a different approach. Okay? Let me just angle the camera here. So this is the pedal. So this is the pedal. I have my fabric here. Once again, I'm gonna do a double fold and I'm gonna sew the corner bump intersection. Watch what's gonna happen. So I'm gonna start with the 3 layers, and it has a different sound. Okay, now it's gonna try to climb up the 9 layers of fabric. Now listen to the sound as it attempts to climb up the 9 layers of fabric here. So remember, from 3 layers to 9 layers. Okay, there's gonna be a change in sound. So what you do with your pedal is you be very mindful on not stepping on it right away. So what I'm doing, look at the acceleration. I listen. It's not as much as the pressing of the pedal. It's really listening is more important. Listen to that sound. It's stuck. The motor is trying to do the job, but it cannot climb up because there's an issue with the feed dog. It's not as good as the other 2 ones that I demonstrated. So you compensate for this problem by not stepping on your acceleration, but by doing a combination of a pedal and hand cranking again. Okay, so we're gonna hand crank this. So as I hand crank this, I'm sending the needle again down to pick up the bobbin thread, and it's a complete rotation. Just slow down. It's gonna be a creaking or tightness, but just trust the system here. It really is picking up the bobbin thread on the bottoms. In other words, it is moving along. So you're not using the motor to sew the corner bump intersection, but you're using your hand, similar to the 0.6 amp machine. This is a powerful machine, but you still need to use your hand here to assist the needle, otherwise you'll break it. Okay? So I have a comment request to make a hemming video on a slant foot sewing machine. So this is a slant foot sewing machine, and in fact the request added that I need to show how I use the pedal. Well, it's not really the pedal, it's actually the hand cranking. Okay, so it's really moving. You can't see it very much, I'm sorry, but it's doing its job. Alright, so watch. I'm actually now in the middle of the plateau, I call it plateau, of the seam here. So let me show you what happens if I use the pedal. It's doing it. See, that's 9 layers. But if you're not sure on when to stop and start on, or how to accelerate, or when to step on your pedal, don't worry. Use your hand to send the needle and do its job. See? Remember, when you step on your pedal, you're using the power of the sewing machine, the motor. By hand cranking it, you're using your hand to power the needle. Right now it's moving. Okay, the stitches is moving this way and the fabric is moving that way, so it's working, it's doing its job. If you hear, see, there's a sound, it's stuck. If you hear this type of sound, do not proceed pressing your pedal. It's struggling to sew it. Okay, so what I'm really asking you to do is work with your machine. Work with the capability of your machine, because different machine will give you different attitudes on how to sew a corner bump intersection. And I'm going to repeat myself, if I didn't say this already, that I don't recommend this on a computerized sewing machine, because forcing the hand wheel on a computerized sewing machine may break the machine, because some of those machines, not all, of course you can do it on other machines, the good ones like FAP brand, but there's some brothers that I don't recommend you using this trick, because you never know what you will break, because the system is different. There's a pulse motor underneath the hood of the feed dog, and we don't want to go there, so we don't want to break anything. The purpose of this video is to save you money. Do not give away your jeans that you need to hem, or buy a new one, or even worse, spend money on sewing machine just because you want something that would hem your jeans. Don't do that. So I'm trying to save you money by following this trick that I do if I'm having trouble with my corner bump intersection. So this time I'm gonna attempt to sew this serge seam on one of the weaker machine, the middle machine that I use. So, and this time it should be a little easier compared to the flat felled seam. And I'm sorry about the sound of the chicken that you're hearing right now. That is a sound of a chicken who just laid an egg. And if you didn't notice, some breeds get so stressed after they laid an egg. And some of them also, it's a form of announcement that there's a egg that just came out. And you know, it's an announcement almost. And it sounds like it's stressed, but it's actually both. Alright. So, some of you may have a machine that has 0.6 of an amp power, and you can still make it work. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. See, you can't really see it right now, but what it's doing right now, it's stuck. It's trying to climb up, but it can't climb up. Now, even though this is an easier seam to sew, you still have the same problem. So I'm just gonna work with it by hand cranking again. I'm gonna focus the camera as I hand crank. It's actually moving. Yeah, that's all you need. Just get past that 1/4 inch seam. Okay? And by the way, if you are not sure about what type of needle to use, size 14 is good, universal needle or G needle. But it's also important not to use a weak or old thread, because when you go through layers of fabric, you never know if your thread will weaken as it pierces through the 9 layers of fabric. So to be sure, get a newer type of thread and don't trust on your old grandma's thread that's been sitting in the closet for years, you know. Because how I know this is because it happened to me. You know, I bought this older thread and I use it on a thick layer, and the next thing I know, it came off in the middle of the sewing. So just be mindful of that. So I'm gonna keep going here. Okay, it's still not moving, so I'm just gonna, sometimes you can pull it a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, 2, 3, this is really now in the middle of that thickness here. So sometimes, because this is going to be different scenario as you work this type of sewing in your own machine, you're going to encounter different scenarios. So I'm just showing you different ways to approach it. Combination of pedal and hand cranking. Okay, so let's take a look at all these seam that I did. Alright, so I seam 4 different hems, and I'm gonna show you the result. I trimmed them a little bit to make it easier to see. Alright, so this is the first one, the Janome 1 amp, and this is the back. See? This is the Janome 0.6 of an amp. This is the result. This is the 1 amp Kenmore slant foot. And this is the surge version, and this is the 0.6 of an amp Janome, the weaker one, and it still works. Okay, now going back to the use of a hump jump device to sew thick fabric, a lot of those video tutorials on the internet, they don't actually show you the back side, and that's why I don't own a device like that, because I never know the tension on the backside. Sometimes it gets wonky, so that's just my own opinion on those type of device. And I don't want it to be a false promise on some of you who are new to sewing and, oh, this is the solution to get over a thick hump. Well, you just slow down, really is the secret. And my tip is take your time and also listen. Just very, very important. You don't have to be an expert. You've got to familiarize yourself with the sound of a sewing machine. I've said this before in my other video. A happy sound, a struggling sound, or I can't do it sound. You've got to distinguish those sounds to prevent having a broken needle or a frustrating experience with your sewing hem projects. To prevent frustrations when it comes to sewing corner bump intersections. Thank you so much for watching.